This regular meeting of the Judson Board of Trustees hereby called to order at 7 p.m. Viva Fiesta. I'd like to thank you all for coming. That's why we don't have ties. We were told we couldn't wear ties tonight, so you know who runs this district, huh? I'd like you all please stand for the invocation by Mr. Merle. And I'd like to everybody have a prayer for Mr. John Reinwald, who one part of the Judson family who passed week. Mr. Merle?
Let us bow. Our Heavenly Father, we thank Thee once again for allowing us to be able to assemble to carry out the work of the school district. Father God, we ask You to bless the students in our district. Bless the parents and the teachers, Father. Father, we ask You to give them the knowledge that they need in order for them to pass the STAR, which is coming up. Give them the ease of mind and that they may be relaxed, that they may do a good job on the test. Father, we ask You to bless our staff, Father, as they work long, hard hours, Father. But we know that they do everything from the heart for the children. We ask You to bless this board as we tonight discuss things that will make our children and our district better. And may we realize with all the decisions that we make, that we keep You in mind, that we may have the spirit of You, Father. We ask all these blessings in Thy Son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the posting of the colors.
Color guard. There. Colors. Forward. March. March time. March. Color guard. Halt. Left. Face. Freeze. And arms.
I'd like to introduce to you tonight our pledge leader. She is Dao Diane Lu Bui. Dao came to Elof in kindergarten. Come on up, Dao. Where she quickly mastered the English language. Now a fifth grader, Dao is a model student inside and out. Her kindness and good character earned her many awards, and she has never failed to make the honor roll. She doesn't know what career she wants to pursue yet. She just knows she wants to make a difference somewhere. Let's join Dow in the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. and Texas flags.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Order. Arms. Ready. Face. Forward. March. March time. March. Color guard. Halt. Ready. Step. Ready. Hold. Ready. Post. Ready. Step. Ready. Face. Freeze. And arms. Order. Arms. Ready. Face. Forward. March.
You may be seated. Let's give Dow a hand for a nice job. And if the board will come on down, we can present her with her certificate and take a photograph here. And parents, too, if you want to take, or family members, if you want to take a picture. I'd also like to recognize our color guard for tonight from Wagner High School, Junior ROTC, Cadet Captain Zulema Martinez, Cadet First Lieutenant Abigail Santos, Cadet Private Gaston Martinez, and Cadet Private Austin Wiley. They are under the direction of Sergeant First Class Joseph Ramon. Now, our first board recognition comes from the Judson Early College Academy. Now, the quality of students from JECA continues to come through year after year through so many measures. These two students were recognized recently as they participated in the ExxonMobil Texas Science and Engineering Fair and certainly got the judges' attention. They received a third-place special award. Keep in mind, this is a state competition. Third-place special award from Texas Tech for natural resource management. Part of the award was a $500 scholarship for each girl. Congratulations to Annalise Cornwell. Come on up, Annalise. And Ashley McCoy. Their instructors are Mr. Eric Botello and Miss Elsa Barrientos. Yeah, can the parents stand up just for a second so we know who you are? All right, our next recognition comes from Judson High School. Judson High School has a great theater program, and UIL competition is certainly confirming that. Several of the school's theatrical design students qualified for the 2015 state competition. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's going to be happening next month. Is that correct? Okay. Theatrical design may not be the actual acting part, but set designs have a huge impact on how a production is presented and how it comes off to the audience. This team's creativity and hard work have paid off and will be competing next month for state. These students are Brianna King, Mackenzie McAllister, Mercedes Morales, and Cassandra Williams. I'd also like to recognize Vanessa White. She is the UIL's competition coach. She's back here in the back. And are the parents, are the family members here? Can you hold your hand up, or? All right, these next two recognitions are a special award given on behalf of the Judson Education Association. These two students were chosen for scholarships based on their grades and personal essays. To present these students with these scholarships are Mary Standifer and Maria Scagliola with the Judson Education Association. And they have a couple of checks here to be presented to these two students. First, I'd like to call up the first recipient. He is Andrew Kennedy of Judson High School. Andrew is ranked number 10 in his class. His intended college major is biochemistry, and he'd like to attend Texas State University. Here is one sentence from Andrew's essay. If only students understood the importance of connecting concepts and knowledge across every subject, regardless of their career choices, they would grow into well-rounded people. And I think that's a target, I think, for every teacher, isn't it? So congratulations, Andrew. And if you didn't see that check, it's $2,500. All right, Our second recipient is Indigo Kofer of Wagner High School. Now, Indigo is ranked number 5 in her class. Her intended major is pre-medicine, and she would like to attend either Texas Tech or Baylor. Here's one of the sentences from her essay. Personally, I value my education because I know in other places in the world we live in, children are not granted the same opportunities and privileges we find here in America. Congratulations, Indigo. All right, our last recognition is a rather somber one coming from our transportation department. Mr. John Rywalt, a JIST transportation fleet mechanic, was found unconscious in a shop truck in the transportation department on April 2nd, 2015, at around 10:30 in the morning. Mr. Larry Linsman discovered him and immediately asked Ms. Jeheda Barito to call 911. Mr. Linsman immediately sounded the alert to Mrs. Michelle Ram, the JISD Transportation Director, as well as Mr. Arnolfo Sanchez and Ms. Maria Witham. They pulled him out of the truck. Ms. Ram and Mr. Linsman began CPR, later with assistance from another bus driver, Mr. John Warren. EMS arrived less than 5 minutes later and transported Mr. Reinwald to Northeast Methodist, but he did not make it. District counselors were available to support the transportation drivers who witnessed it. The Executive Director of Operations, Mr. Fields, met with the bus drivers afterwards to offer their support, his support, and all left the meeting saddened but knowing that they did everything that they could in a very, very tough situation. Later that same day, they went out on their routes to transport students back to their homes without incident. We would like to recognize the quick-thinking actions of the JISD transportation staff for their heroic efforts and teamwork demonstrated on that day. The conduct of the JISD transportation employees exemplified the genuine concern and camaraderie in the department and throughout the Judson Independent School District. And here this evening are Arnolfo Sanchez, Maria Witham, and Mr. John Warren. Can you come up here, please? We do want to thank you for your professionalism during that time. Our heartfelt condolences also go out to the family of Mr. Rywalt. And those are our recognitions for this evening.
Okay. We're going to do roll call right now. We waited for you, Mr. Dare. Mr. Salinas. Ms. Adair.
President, I was at Ed Friend's musical. It was a great event.
Mr. Flores.
President, thank you all for being here.
Mr. Salinas. Mr. Macias. Macias. I'm sorry. See, I corrected. I figured it out. You got it right. Just retry.
I'm present, and thank you for being here.
Mr. LaFoyle.
Present.
Mr. Merle.
President, thank y'all for coming.
Steve Salyard, I'm present. Dr. Montoya.
Present, and again, thank you for all being here.
Thank you. I'm very pleased that you have taken time to join us this evening. Oh, go ahead.
Again, very briefly, from my left, Mr. Milton Fields, Executive Director of Operations, Ms. Irma Hernandez, Executive Director of Human Resources, Mr. Elizondo, our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Berra, Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Ed, and Ms. Robinson, Associate Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and a very important person, Jackie Perez, Board Secretary.
Thank you. I'm very pleased you have taken time to join us this evening. As the Judson Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals and policies and oversee the management of the district. We are responsible for approving budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and to listen to reports from the superintendent. We are not here to make administrative or management decisions pertaining to the daily operation of the district. This is responsibility of the superintendent. In compliance with the government code on open meetings, tonight's agenda has been appropriately posted. This is a meeting in the public, not of the public. As our guests, you're welcome to observe and listen. These proceedings are being videoed and audio recorded and will become part of the Judson's permanent legal record. In order that the tape adequately reflect the proceedings, please silence your mobile phones and refrain from talking while others are speaking. Since it is legally mandated that these proceedings are recorded accurately, I may ask for order periodically should I notice that disruptions are interfering with recording capabilities. Again, thank you for your interest in Judson ISD. See who we have tonight here. Miss Parshall, Converse City Council. Thank you for coming. Anybody else here? I think we got everybody. Okay, recognition. Okay, at this time we'll do citizens to be heard. This time is provided for citizens to address the board on issues or concerns. A person may speak one time for a period of 3 minutes. Presentations shall be informative only. No board action will be taken. A complaint or charge against an officer, an employee of the district is not allowed in open session. Complaints and concerns for which other resolution channels are provided shall be directed through those channels. The presiding officer shall determine whether a person who wishes to address the board has attempted to solve a matter administratively. If not, the person shall be directed to the appropriate policy to seek resolution before bringing the matter to the board or subsequent meeting. Citizens wishing to receive a response from concerns presented to the board must provide written documentation. The board shall not deliberate or decide regarding any subject that is included on the agenda, not included on the agenda posted with notice of this meeting. We have a few folks. Jose Herrera, Judson High School, bullying, harassment, discrimination. Jose, Mr. Herrera, come on, up here, Mr. Herrera.
Actually, I'll be speaking on this behalf.
All three, okay, so you're Catherine? Ilana? Okay, all three, come on up. You're welcome, right there, ma'am. Oh, right there, ma'am, right there at the podium, so we can get it recorded. Thank you. And
I'm actually not coming for any resolution, but actually to bring your attention to some items that have been occurring to my family in particular at Judson High School. In particular, I wanted to actually define four terms for you. One is discrimination, the practice of unfairly treating a person or a group of people differently from other people or groups. Harassment, to annoy or bother someone in a constant or repeated way, to make repeated attacks against an enemy. Bullying, a blustering, browbeating person, especially one habitually cruel to others who are weaker. And retaliation, to get revenge against someone. When bullying, harassment, discrimination, and retaliation occurs between two students, it is immediately addressed. An investigation commences and both sides are heard. When bullying, harassment, and discrimination and retaliation occur between a student and a teacher, a coach, or an administrator, only one side is heard, and it's not the side that you would think. On several instances, I've been a party to this, or my child has been. I have addressed all parties, and the bullying has never been, one, stopped and or investigated on the side of the victim. My child's side has never been taken into consideration. I have received letters, emails, phone calls stating that my claim has been unsubstantiated. How can you unsubstantiate a claim when the child is not heard, when the victim is not listened to, when their side is not taken? I heard the board say that the teachers here do their work from the heart and for the children, and that is true for most of them, but not all. And I am only here to bring attention to this. Immediately after a bullying case, retaliation, harassment, or discrimination claim is made, retaliation immediately occurs. This is called whistleblower reprisal for those of you that are in the military or who have been. Your child can do no right. she is automatically considered guilty, and you have to spend the rest of your time fighting the administration, the teachers, and the coaches. You will spend the rest of your child's school days fighting for your child. You will see you are guilty until proven innocent. I don't know about you, but I've already done my high school years. But I will be there every single day if I need to for my child. But not only for my child, for yours. I'm here to bring attention to these concerns. Bullying, retaliation, discrimination, and harassment is not a victimless crime. My child goes home crying every single day, and I have to see this. Yet, my claim and hers of bullying are unsubstantiated. How is this possible when her side of the story is never taken into consideration? Yet, my letters come back saying, this is no ploy by anyone. How can you say that when you have not even spoken to the victim, not even once? If the child does something, she's immediately disciplined for it. But when the administrators, the coaches, and the teachers do it, nothing happens. My concerns have been brought to many of you here in front of me already, and to the school, yet nothing happens. But I will continue to be at the school and at these board meetings and in each and every one of your offices if I have time or if you allow it, not only for my child, but so that no other child can be bullied, harassed, discriminated against, or retaliated. This is not allowed in my place of work, in my home, and it should definitely not be allowed in the school system. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Renee Purcell, general comments? General comments?
Thank you and good evening. Dr. Montoya, I'm directing this especially to you, sir. Since you've been here, I think you told me you've only been here 5 weeks, and we're very glad to have you, glad that you're here. Thank you for the meeting that I had with you, and I'm looking forward to having more sessions with you. What I'd like to bring to your attention this evening is something that I'd just like for you to think about. It's a rhetorical question, but what are you planning to do about micromanagement? When you have a board member who spends a ridiculous amount of time in your staff's office, day in and day out, maybe not every day, maybe not every week, but there are those times that you have board members who interrupt the work that is done on a day-to-day basis because that board member is micromanaging what's going on. And last I heard, you were hired as the superintendent, and there can only be one superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Let's go to number 4, consideration of consent items. A, if you want to pull, just say pull, please. 4A, consider and take action regarding approving board minutes of the regular board meeting held on March 26, 2015. 4B, consider and take action regarding approving monthly financial information as of March 31st, 2015. 4C, consider and take action regarding approving expenditures equal to or greater than $50,000. Mr. Salinas, okay. 4D, consider and take action regarding approving of quarterly cash investment reports for all funds as of March 31st, 2015. 4E, agenda item, consider and take action regarding approving instructional materials to include social studies, grades K through 12 and K5 social studies, Spanish, fine arts, grade 12 through K, center and technical education principles and elements of floral design. Pull. Miss Adair. Okay. So we're voting on 4A, B, and D. Do I have a motion by Mr. Salinas, second by Mr. LaFoyle. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, we'll go to 4C, consider and take action regarding approving expenditures equal to or greater than 50,000. Mr. Salinas, we need a motion.
Motion.
Ms. Adair, got it.
Thank you,
Mr. Salinas.
I believe we received an update on that 50,000 or more. Is that the item we're considering? Is that item C, Dr. Montoya?
Yes, sir, it is. Mr. Elizondo, you want to briefly state that?
Yes, sir. Board members, we did provide an update to item 4C. Basically, there are two items that we're purchasing. We're only changing the first item. Initially, we had recommended that we purchase a vehicle from Southwest International for $112,699. This is a large vehicle, refrigerated truck for the Child Nutrition Department. We reviewed the information with them, and they determined that they wanted to make a change in the vehicle they were purchasing to one that was a little bit less expensive. So the one we're recommending is the one from Houston Freightliner for $110,451. Thank you, sir, for that savings.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 4E, agenda item, consider and take action regarding approving instructional materials to include social studies, grades K through 12, and K-5 social studies, Spanish, fine arts, grades K through 12, career and technology, education principles, and elements of floor design. Motion? Ms. Adair? Mr. Foyle, second. Ms. Adair?
Yes, sir. Dr. Montoya, if you could just tell us the process.
Okay, I think Mr. Gonzalez, you're here, that covers the process. The process basically is to, every so many years, which is really supposed to be 7, the TEA opens up areas for school districts to adopt new textbooks. The state, through their funding formula, sends so much money per student to each district in terms of looking at what they can purchase in textbook areas. And then the district does have an internal policy, or I'm sorry, a process, which involves input, teachers, key, and others. But Mr. Gonzalez, if you please step up and share that. And then they narrow it down on samples from vendors. Vendors actually give samples to the district to look at, and they're placed in different places, obviously at the school level and other places. And then the teachers, mainly the staff, decides on the package and makes a decision. But go ahead, Mr.
That's correct. Everything that you stated is correct. For about a 2-week window, there are vendors that are state-approved, state-adopted vendors that come in and present to selected committee members. And then they go back and they present to their staffs at various, at all the schools. And then they come back and they sign off on what they believe is the best representation or best package with regard to what state-adopted materials puts forward.
Was any of the, can you tell me a little bit who the committee, not the names, like what their
Well,
positions
they're all
were?
listed. They should be all listed in your packet. That's the signatures that you have, and they have to sign that they certified. Page 50 and 51.
Were all of these staff?
Yes.
Okay. I know what you're saying, but because we don't do this very often, then the community was wondering, how do we come up with this? And the board doesn't decide. We just go based on your recommendations, and you give us recommendations from the teachers.
That's
So
correct.
I just wanted that clear, that it wasn't any little thing that the board was doing. We're not doing anything, but accepting your recommendation.
And Ms. Adair, I think your point's well taken in that the teachers are going to use these tools in the class with their students, so they have to have a key input and decision-making process for themselves.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, 5, discussion, consideration of action items. 5A, consider and take possible action regarding approving the formation of a committee to review and revise Hall of Honor criteria qualifications. Mr. Merle. Need a motion? Motion, Mr. Salinas, is that you?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Macias. Mr. Merle.
Yes, on the Civic Hall of Honor, I've noticed that in order to be considered for the Civic Hall of Honor, you have to be a Judson graduate. And I personally believe that we have a lot of volunteers that volunteer a lot of years in the district. No matter what they do, how long they volunteer, they can never be even considered for the Hall of Honor. I would like, the committee can set their own standard. I would just like for the community to have an opportunity to be considered.
Does I have a motion to amend?
Yes.
State it.
I would like to have the Hall of Honor criteria amended that would allow volunteers to be considered for the Civic Hall of Fame if they didn't graduate from Judson.
Have a second? Mr. LaFoille, discussion? Mr. Merle? Anyone? Mr. Macias, go ahead.
Yes, so this agenda item states that you want to form a committee to review and revise the hall. So are you saying that you don't want to do the committee to review and revise, you just want to go ahead and amend it now to add that aspect of your amendment to open it up to people that are not graduates of Judson ISD? Or do you want the committee to form and then review and revise?
The reason I asked for amendment was because to do something, you got to say we want to do it to form the committee. So to do this, we have to have an amendment.
Okay, and so the action item then stated on our agenda, consider and take possible action regarding the approving the formation of a committee to review and revise Hall of Honor wouldn't meet that criteria of just setting the committee?
Well, I asked you if you wanted to amend it, and you amended it. What do you
Yes,
say?
the reason I would like a committee because
Okay.
there is no criteria for volunteers, period.
Okay, and I think that's a very good point.
Okay, we'll withdraw your motion, and we'll vote on this.
All right, I withdraw my motion.
And again, only if you want to. I mean, if you want to do it
You
now.
want committee,
Yeah.
amendment, yeah, withdraw the amendment, okay.
Okay,
Good?
I withdraw the amendment.
Okay, Mr. LaFoille,
I think this is something great because we, like he said, we have some great volunteers out there. Some people have spent 18, 20 years volunteering in Judson. They didn't graduate from this school, but they're willing to give their time. And I think these people should have a chance to be on the wall out there in the Hall of Honor.
any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I will take suggestions for committee members at any time. Done all for you, okay? Anyone sitting out there? Okay, we'll form a committee then. Thank you. 5B, consider and take possible action approving an optional flexible school day program, OFSDP, for 2 comprehensive high schools and Judson Learning Academy.
Motion.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Macias, second. Mr. LaFoille, discussion?
I'd like to give discussion on the staff. Who put this on? Such that we get some information. I had the same question. Thank you.
Members of the board, it appeared that historically, excuse me, this district had an evening school in the past, but there were issues and problems with it. So in essence, this is a revamped process that would not, excuse me, hurt any of the students. I'm sorry. We have over 100 students that are not in the regular academic program at the regular high schools that probably would become dropouts, and we'd lose not only the students, but the funding and several other things. So this was a concept that's out there that will help these kids, and we're able to do it. But Ms. Berra, if you will share some of the specifics and answer any questions.
Yes, I can go ahead and tell you about evening school. When we first opened evening school, that was a way for us to really help the students at the time that were being retained because they couldn't pass reading or math or some other coursework at the 9th grade level. So many students were being retained. The principals came to me and said, Ms. Berra, we need to do something. We need to open up some more avenues for the students to take classes during the day or in the evening. And so we opened up the evening high school. It was successful in the sense that under that assessment system that we had in the past with the tax, many of our students were able to get credits and graduate under the evening high school. Well, House Bill 5 comes along, and now we have a very different assessment system. The curriculum program that we have in place does not address the curriculum aspects that we are now looking into. So as we started talking about it again with the principals, they were the ones who said, well, what if we do something in our own schools? Not a different PIMS number where our students go to a different campus and get grades under a different campus on its own. We keep our own students, we hire our own teachers, and we stay open from 4:30 to 8:30, kind of like we did at the evening school, but now it's on our own campus. And we will provide instruction face-to-face and computer-based for those students that still need to pass their tax. This instruction will be available during the weekends, evenings, face-to-face, and online. The cost, I know you will ask. When you look at the cost is very similar. If we keep the same number of teachers and with the one coordinator working with both campuses, a third, we put JLA in there just in case we have some students that go there that need to go in the evening as well. So so the cost will remain basically the same. Who are the students that benefit from this program? The students that have been absent, the students that can't work in a comprehensive school, the students who, for some reason or another, life gets in the way, and they have to work during the day, and the only time that they have to come to school is the evening. So we're really looking at the students to reach out and bring in those students that still need to graduate and allow them the opportunity. The great thing about this is that both high school principals are in favor of this, and the students that go through this program will also graduate under that high school and cross the stage with the other students as well.
Thank you. Mr. Salinas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I was told that the evening high school program was going to be discontinued, I was not very happy. But then they said, no, something's going to be worked out. First question is, so you're going to bring this on the budget when we start discussing the budget to add this sector, is that correct?
This is paid out of state compensatory education.
Okay.
So it'll be on the budget, yes, it will be.
The other one is the extra staff you were talking from 4:30 to 8.
Mhm.
Are we going to be asking for the teachers in the district that might want to be interested in working those extra hours? How many days out of the week?
It's 4 days out of the week, Monday through
Okay.
Thursday. Our first priority would be retired teachers. Our second priority, because we don't want to wear out our good teachers during the day, our second priority would be those teachers that, especially in the areas where we need our students to pass. And we can work around their schedule. If they can only work one day, we'll make sure that those students that need those areas to work on come on that day. We'll work around their schedule with the students and the teachers.
It would be, Vera, it would be wonderful if we could get retired teachers. Like we said, we don't want to burn out our teachers to be there every day until 8 o'clock. So definitely, once you bring the budget and everything, this is something that I will support. Thank you very much for the information.
Thank you, Mr. Salinas.
Mr. Murrow.
Yeah, my question is, since we're gonna start this back up, and I realized that when the evening high school was terminated, then all the ones that was going there, now they have nowhere to go. And we got them back in school to give them the opportunity. So when are we going to start this? If we keep waiting and waiting on down the line, it's hard to bring them back.
I need your approval tonight so that I can start the process of applying to TEA. Once we get their approval, and their approval, they don't necessarily have a certain time limit. As soon as the application goes through, somebody will review it and give us an answer fairly quickly.
What I'm asking is, when are we going to start?
Okay,
Saying it's
so
gonna be
as soon as
approved.
you all approve it, I will submit the application to TEA. They might get it. We could start it this summer, but more than likely August or
Okay.
with the next school year.
Okay.
Ms. Macias?
A lot of my questions had been answered, but, you know, you never know if one will pop up and I have to wait in line again, so I just left it there. Trying to fish for a question. No, I'll just say that I like this objective. This naturally would help towards our dropout rate tremendously, and so we're always having an eye on that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Flores?
Thank you. Will this be open to students that are having trouble, you know, I mean, we know we're going to try to bring in those students, but the students that are there, would they be able to use it like as a tutoring type, you know, to catch up? Because, you know, they're always behind a little bit.
Yes, I do, and if you'd like to hear from the principals, they can also share with you.
I'd love to hear what the real plan is.
That's what I thought you'd want to do
because
that,
not
okay,
just- yeah,
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Hernandez, and.
Both of them are well-versed on this, so,
Again, my concern is those students that are in the classroom for the day and how they're, you know, but they're falling behind. You know, we don't want to lose them. Will they be able to
Yes, sir.
get into this program?
As a matter of fact, the program allows for flexibility either way. You would regain ADA by allowing students to come in the evening, or they can be enrolled during the day as well and take advantage of the fact that they can come after school for more one-on-one instruction and acceleration too.
Well, and it also affords, because we have systems in the evening where there's staff that can help, it affords students the opportunity to not only just come in for help in the evening, but when they talk with their teachers in the evening, or we start enrolling students in the evening, we can find a way to get kids through, because the acceleration required by the state is changing the nature of the student's schedule, 1st through 7th period, meaning that we're having fewer and fewer opportunities during the day to give students accelerated instruction if they're struggling. So therefore, we can give them a course in the evening, even if it's early in the evening, so that they can meet those credit requirements, allowing them to still participate in their career technology courses, still participate in athletics during the day, those things that they really hold near and dear that keep them coming to school during the day. So it just really gives us some options. And, Mr. Hernandez and myself, we've spoken several times. We've met with Ms. Barra, and currently we just don't have that option. And so we're looking at students who are leaving, and we so desperately want them to still stay with us. And so once we even talked about the idea of them graduating. So many kids want to graduate from Wagner. So many kids want to graduate from Judson. And so having that also as an opportunity, it really increases, I would say, the viability of the program.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we discussed, that we agreed upon, is that we bring those students back to our campus, so the accountability still lies on us. We're responsible for our own kids, and we'll see them through all the way.
Thank you. Ms. Adair?
That leads right into my question, Mr. Hernandez.
Ma'am.
So how will this affect the standing of your schools? Because we're talking about not just the students that Mr. Flores is referring to, but the students that have totally dropped out and that are overaged. How do you think this will affect your standing?
Well, we would hope to recover some of the students that have decided to leave the campus. Hopefully recover them before the date to make sure that they don't count against us in our accountability, and actually increase or decrease the dropout rate.
Right. We want to slow down the number of students who are leaving, because we've identified students already who would benefit, and then also bring back. It's the old saying, if you build it, they will come. Once we have a program that the students know they can come back to, they'll come back. But even more importantly, it's the right thing to do.
And instructionally, I'll say this, instructionally as well, we're not going to farm out the whole program to computer-aided instruction.
Right.
It's a blended program where they're in front of a core area certified teacher that can deliver the instruction and then allow them to participate in their own self-paced curriculum.
And so you'll get with our coaching people, because I heard you mention UIL, because I'm sure there'll be some things that we need to look at as far as the overage ones, if they decide they want to come and
Quite a bit of
play
rules for
football,
UIL. Yes, ma'am.
or be in the band. So
Yes, ma'am.
just watch the. And then lastly, this is Ms. Barrett, you said only regular students, 22 to 26. So if a student was a special ed
Oh,
student,
special ed as well, yes.
They can still come
Yes,
back?
they can still come back.
Okay.
Yes. And actually, we'll talk about that in another time, because we're also doing another program for those students. We're doing an adult years program through special education, and we'll talk about that during the special education program that we had for you.
Mr. Hernandez?
We would actually provide services for students in special education and also students in, that are considered LEP as well.
I think that's really fantastic. I had a son that decided that he was going to get his GED, and he went on to college. That was our deal. But then down the road, he said, you know, Mom, I really want that Judson High School certificate. And he was still under the age, but we didn't have a program.
Understood.
And so that's fantastic, and thank you for all you great minds that have come up with this.
Thank you. Mr. Salinas?
One more.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to make a point of clarification. I said that I wanted to see the budget. But now that I understand, first we have to get permission from DEA, I'm not going to worry about the budget. I just will support this to make sure that we get the paperwork rolling to DEA, and if we can start in the summer, fine. If not, in the next school year, Thank you very much, Dr. Montoya. Thank you, and thank you, ma'am.
Well, can I add as well, for every student that we recover for the lost ADA, it goes back into the general fund anyway. So
Correct.
the program actually pays for itself.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to vote on 5B. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 5C. Consider and take possible action to amend board operating procedures regarding rotation of board officers and report of legal advice to all board members. Motion, Mr. Macias. Second, Mr.
Yeah, this is just purely our own board operating procedures that we're taking a look at. So the premise behind it is pretty simple. We talk a lot about communication, and so whenever we have a conversation with the superintendent always follows up with the board and lets them know what the situation is. But we have a situation where sometimes the board's not given information, and I don't think on purpose, it's just the way we have it designed, where the board president may be consulting with our attorneys, and it doesn't come back to the board. So I'm recommending that whenever legal advice is requested, that the board get a report of what that legal advice is, so that we all are in communication of what is being said. So that's one thought to put out there that I'd like my colleagues to consider. The second one is about the rotation of board officers. We got to be real. There's egos on this board, and so what I think might be important is that we acknowledge the idea of rotating officers annually and allowing everyone on the board to serve in an officer position, so we don't have consecutive years of the same person in the same position. It allows our board to expand their experiences and be a more cohesive team, I believe, in that way. So we don't have to make that decision. I'm willing to pull this item now in terms of us coming back to the table to put that in our board operating procedure. But I did want to have some conversation about that and get your thoughts.
So you pulled it?
You're pulling it?
Well, before I do that, do we have consensus that we can come together as a board to kind of iron it out? Because we can do this at another session when we have a training or any of those
There's
things.
a motion on the floor. There's a motion.
Yeah, I can withdraw that motion, though.
So you're withdrawing the motion?
I just want to get consensus, though.
Well, no, you can't get, you either have a motion on it, we vote on it, you can't get
No,
consensus on the motion.
Yeah, the consensus.
But you're
the
saying you
consent-
want to pull it if we have,
No,
it's
no.
one or the other. If you pull it, pull it. If you want to have discussion, we have discussion. Yeah.
Well, I honestly think it might be better pulled, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because we actually need to discuss it. And I think that as I'm looking at this item, it may be better to sit down in a work session and iron this out. We did that before when we had our board operating procedures updated. and it was a good way for us to iron through it. So because of that, I'll go ahead and pull this item, and so I withdraw my motion, but we can revisit this in a session at some time in the summer.
Okay, pulled. Okay, let's go to 5D, please. Consider and take possible action regarding the contract. You want to do this in closed first? We got to go closed on this first, on 5D? Okay, we'll go this on closed. Let's go on to, and 5D and E, we'll go to closed, and we'll come back and vote on that. Let's go to 6, discussion items, reports, superintendent report.
Mr. President, members of the board, this is again an update. As you know, we're working on a brand-new high school phase 1, so this will be a brief update. Mr. Fields?
Yes, sir. There are really not very many changes from last week on the Evans Road High School. I would tell you that we're getting close to the need to subgrade the baseball and softball fields, so we may be coming back to the board soon, asking for the possibility to level that out so that the students can practice there at the campus and not afterwards. In terms of the water line extension, most of that has been completed, 99% complete. At this point, all they're doing is checking the chlorine along the Evans Road. They've already put chlorine in the pipe along Nacogdoches, so we're just waiting for the testing to come back. Once SARS approves that, we'll put a temporary meter in, and then they'll be able to use water right out there at the site. And then in terms of the track over at Wagner, they've actually laid the concrete down. We're waiting for that to cure for 2 weeks. Once they do, they'll come back and lay the rubber on top, and it looks real good. Any questions?
Okay. Dr. Montoya, anything else?
At this point, that's it in that area.
That's it.
Okay, 6B. I have to read all these, so bear with me. 6B, first reading for policy update 100 affecting local policies. B1, CKE local safety program risk management security personnel. B2, CPO local office management records management. B3, CRD local insurance and annuities management health and life insurance. B4, DC local employee practices. B5, DCB local employment practices term contracts. B6, DCD local employment practices at will employees. B6, DCD local employee practices at will employees. I just read that one. B7, DCE local employment practices other types of contracts. B8, FDA local emissions interdistrict transfers. B9, FL local student records. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
No, all of these are discussion. Okay, we're discussing. First reading. I'm sorry, first reading, thank you. Okay, 6C, discussion.
Yeah.
Oh, you
I
got
have
your
a
name up?
question
Go
as
ahead.
well.
Okay, I'm sorry. Mrs. Dare, go ahead.
Yes, sir. This is first reading of these policies, and so I'd just like to ask, Dr. Montoya, have these 9 been reviewed by our attorneys for legal review since they're local policies?
They have been reviewed, again, obviously from TASB first. We've had the cabinet look at it, and pieces have been reviewed by the board attorney. I wouldn't say all of them.
The ones that pertain to the employment practices, I would ask before we have second reading if you can let us know that, so we ensure that we're not doing anything wrong when we do this local policy, because I'm not sure, on where our local policy interacts with the law. So
And we
if you
can-
come back and tell us.
We can do
then-
that, Ms. Adair, in terms of involving our attorney, Ms. Hernandez, to make sure that that occurs, that they review that piece.
I do want to add that all 4 policies have been reviewed by legal. These
Okay,
4
so they have.
Yes, they
have
have
been
to do with
reviewed by
HR.
legal. What you have has been reviewed by legal.
That's what I need to know. Thank you.
And it's resolved. Good.
Mr. Macias?
Thank you. No, you addressed my question. I'm fine. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, 6C, discussion, transfer, take action report. Mr. LaFoil.
Yes, I'd like to have this in closed session.
Okay. Okay, 6D, update on board advisory committees. Anyone? Mr. Merle, you're on all of them.
Yes, the curriculum committee didn't meet this month because of all the testing. Every Monday, just about throughout the month, there's testing. We could have moved it to another day, but then you still have the students, staff, and everybody else, the parents getting the kids ready to take the STAR test. And right now, the STAR test is more important than having this meeting. But we will resume next month. That's it.
Okay, real quick, 6E, update on board training, conference events, consider future agenda items. Anything? Anyone? Mr. Salinas, anyone? No one? Mr. Macias?
I just wanted to comment that I'll be attending a community college conference this weekend. And the cool thing about it is it's not normally in San Antonio, so it's here locally. So no flight, no hotel. It's just going to the conference, which is kind of cool.
Okay. This board will now adjourn into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meeting Act. Government Code, Section 551.074, discussion regarding Associate Superintendent's retirement agreement. 7B, pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, consider and discuss posting new high school principal position for 2015-2016 school year. 7C, pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.06, discussing personnel. And we are going to close session right now at 7:56.